This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. It's gone from bad to terrible in Georgia. Now the grand jurors have been targeted by Donald Trump and his far right-wing followers and cult followers who have now taken to doxing, posting personal information about the grand jurors on social media, including now on Truth Social and Getter. It's moved from the QAnon bulletin boards and message centers and message communities all the way up now to social media for Donald Trump. And I'm going to talk about how they got that information. Unfortunately, it's attached to the indictment. Fani Willis maybe should have asked to have that information redacted and put into an anonymous format, but under a quirk of Georgia law, you have to actually post the names of the indicting jurors. And actually, if you go to page 9 of the indictment, you're going to see their names. I'll put up a version of it with them blacked out because I don't want to contribute to the doxing of these grand jurors. But this started this attack, and now we have the Fulton County Sheriff making finally an announcement that they are going to be investigating the virulent attacks on the grand jurors that's happening within social media. And you know who's quiet about all this? You know who's not showing any leadership, courage, or statesmanship? Donald Trump, or anybody in his campaign. Where's Stephen Chung, his spokesperson? Where's somebody calling out that they should not, under any circumstances, go after innocent grand jurors who are just doing their civic duty and voted to indict Donald Trump, the 23 of them for Fulton County? Let me unpack all of this first. It all started, because this is a fast-moving story with a lot of moving parts. It all starts and ends with Donald Trump. A week or so ago, he posted a mob-like threat to rub out prosecutors and judges by saying, if you come after me, I'm coming after you. That triggered a cascade of events, including in federal court with Jack Smith, bringing that to the attention of Judge Tanya Chutkan in the D.C. Circuit Court. Then, having been successful, I guess, in trying to upset the apple cart there, Donald Trump moved on and said, you know what? I'm just going to blow a racist bullhorn, and I'm going to start calling people that happen to be black that are prosecutors and judges the N-word. There's no other way to put it. He started calling them, starting yesterday, he started calling them riggers with an R over and over and over again, which got picked up and amplified, right, by his followers on not even the dark web, on the regular social media, in calling everybody like let's use it in a sentence. Fani Willis is a rigger. You see where this is going? Tanya Chutkan is a fill in the blank. And there's no doubt that he was trying to tap into the virulent racist streak that runs through his followers and supporters and activate them. And it's not enough that they like off-kilter children repeated this, but then they turned it into violent threats. One of Donald Trump's followers, who wants to see him reelected in 2024, made a phone call to federal judge Tanya Chutkan's chambers in the District of Columbia and said that if Trump's not elected in 2024, we're coming to kill you. You are a target. You are a stupid slave. I'm repeating the statements that were made by Abigail Jo Schrei from Texas, who's now been picked up by the FBI. It's the 4th time she's made threats against people, and they're usually black and in positions of power. Fani Willis has gotten death threats and been called the N-word more times than she cares to repeat ever since she started the prosecution, and it's only been amplified since the indictment. And now, not only has the followers of Donald Trump, with his implicit approval, because he's not doing anything to stop it, right? Just like the 4 hours he sat derelict of duty in the White House Oval Office dining room watching the Capitol burn, he's doing nothing to stop his people from attacking the grand jurors, just like he did nothing to stop his people and instead poured gasoline on the fire, the kerosene on the fire on Jan 6th. It's the same thing. We're watching it over again. The same person that would tell people to come to Jan 6th and be wild and not tell them to stand down as the West Portico and the Capitol became a bloody battlefield of carnage. It's the same person that's allowing the grand jurors, innocent civilians, doing their civic duty under an American flag in a courthouse for justice, who is blind. to be attacked. He could call off the dogs. He could call off his henchmen. He could call off his minions and tell them it's inappropriate. Where's Stephen Chung? Where's this press spokesperson for Donald Trump who's always out there talking about things that are improper? Where is he now? Nowhere. And let's unpack what happened to make it clear. Sorry, I got a little hot during the hot take because this one, among many, is just a chilling example of why this man can never serve in high office ever again. He's unfit for office. He's fit for prison. He's unfit for office. Where did the names come from? Unfortunately, as I said earlier, there's a quirk in Georgia law, and they actually post it on the indictment. Here's a copy of the indictment. Those are the charges. And if you go to page 9 of the indictment, and I'm not gonna make the doxing worse, you will see the actual names of the 23 Fulton County grand jurors, not their addresses, but with those names, many of them unique. Trump's people were able to then do research, go on LinkedIn, go on Facebook, go on social media, find their photos, find their what they think is their racial or ethnic background, go search political contributions to see if they're Bernie Sanders supporters or Obama supporters or Black Lives Matter supporters, as if any of that matters, and put it up on the web, right, including their home addresses. And that led to us and leads to a series of social media postings and comments in the chat rooms about long-range missiles and long-range rifles being used against them, that they signed their death warrant, I'm just going to read a few of these things now, that we're now in the Turner Diaries time, which is a racist trope that's used in order to say that race wars are coming, that they are the N-word, that they're on a hit list, and other things said within these right-wing media platforms. It started on QAnon platforms. It's moved on into mainstream with Getter and Donald Trump's own Truth Social. And so our hearts on the MeidasTouch Network go out to each of the grand jurors who did nothing more than swear an allegiance to the Constitution and to do what was right for justice in hearing the evidence and voting, in this case, to indict the 19 people, including Donald Trump. They need protection. And now the sheriff's department has finally gotten around, a little bit late in my view, has finally gotten around to issuing a statement. I'm going to read the statement to you. The statement is as follows. That they are aware that personal information of members of the Fulton County Grand Jury is being shared on various platforms. I'm quoting from the statement. As the lead agency, our investigators are working closely with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to track down the origin of threats in Fulton County and other jurisdictions. We take this matter very seriously and are coordinating with our law enforcement partners to respond quickly to any credible threat and to ensure the safety of those individuals who carried out their civic duty. The FBI declined comment. FBI and the Department of Justice is going to have to get on this one, because now we're talking about civil rights violations. And now we're talking about race-based, for many of these grand jurors, civil rights violations at a criminal level. And that's when the Department of Justice and the FBI have to step in. Look, I'm all in favor of the Sheriff's Department, but the organization that I want looking into this is the Federal Bureau of Investigation, working with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and all of its lead investigators. Has to happen now. And what is the ramifications of this for Donald Trump? Right? I don't know what he thought he was accomplishing. I don't know what he thought he was accomplishing, being a coward and not telling these people to step down, stand back and stand by, as he told the Proud Boys once. But all it's going to get him is into further trouble. You now have a federal judge, Judge Chutkan, who's been threatened by one of Trump's followers. You've got grand jurors who have been threatened. You have jurors who have been threatened by Donald Trump up in New York in the Manhattan DA prosecution. You've got prosecutors who have been threatened by Trump and all the people around him. Fani Willis, using the N-word. Letitia James, the New York Attorney General up in New York, calling her Peekaboo James, which is a code word not that artfully disguised for a racial slur. Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney, is called a degenerate, which is also words that were used against Black people to make them the other. And federal judges. You know who he's not making comments about? Eileen Cannon down in Florida. Hasn't said a word about her, right? And so one of two things. Either Donald Trump cannot control these people at all. He lit the flames, and now it's just basically run out of control, and he has no control of them, which I don't believe. Or he is making a conscientious choice not to protect innocent civilians in his quest to get back into power. And for that, the Department of Justice should investigate what Donald Trump has done and see if they can tie him back to any of these crimes. The end result is going to be that the actual grand jury that will be selected in all the places that have yet to select the grand jury, in Manhattan, in Florida for the Mar-a-Lago case, in the District of Columbia for the Jack Smith Jan 6 case, now in Georgia with Fani Willis's case, all of those jurors, because of the actions today in the last 72 hours, are going to have to be anonymous and protected. And the grounds for it have been delivered part and parcel in its entirety by Donald Trump. He has now established the grounds for the judge to exercise their discretion under the federal criminal rules to put this jury into protection and have them be anonymous. And we already have a precedent for it, because it happened up in New York when in a civil case, not even a criminal case, where Judge Lewis Kaplan in the E. Jean Carroll case said, I can't protect this jury in the civil case on the sexual battery and rape of E. Jean Carroll and the allegations there, and I'm going to put them into an anonymous jury, which actually Donald Trump's lawyers did not oppose. It was probably the first time in the last 50 years in New York or more, and I can't even think of another time, that a civil jury, not a criminal jury, was given the protection of anonymity and protected by the federal marshals coming in and out of the courthouse. This is now what's going to have to happen with that precedent and with Donald Trump's actions over the last few days, including now the doxing of the grand jury is going to happen to the jury as well. And the grand jurors are going to have to be protected. Our taxpayer dollars, our federal resources are now going to have to be used to protect these innocent civilians. And we'll watch closely here on the MeidasTouch Network what is going on. What is going on with the Sheriff's Department? And Fani Willis has to take this seriously as well. I am sure that the presiding judge, Scott McAfee, who's the youngest judge, 34 years old, and has only been on the bench for 6 months, is going to have to take this thing seriously. As I said on an earlier hot take, he's going to have to put his big judge pants on. And I'm sorry, there's no training academy for what to expect in a case involving Donald Trump as a criminal. But he's going to have to get a handle on this quick. And the chief judge that's responsible for the grand jury process and the judge that was responsible for the grand jury process, Judge McBurney, are going to have a meeting and figure out what's to be done. Because it's not just the law enforcement investigating. The grand jury process itself has been violated, right? How will you ever get more grand jurors to come and do their civic duty if they're going to be mercilessly attacked and their address is given out by Donald Trump and his followers? You'll never get a grand juror. So the court system has a role. They're a stakeholder in this process, and they're going to have to call and get people in front of them and find out what happened here, including talking to the lawyers for all of the 19, including Donald Trump, to find out what happened. So you're going to have an investigation by the court system, by Judge McBurney, who was responsible for the grand jury, by Judge McAfee, who's presiding over the case. And then we'll see what happens with any part of the case going to federal court, because some of these people, 3 of them in particular, were also federal officers, potentially, while all the bad things were happening, or at least where a lot of the bad things are happening. And they might have an exit to go to federal court. They don't lose Fani Willis. They don't lose Georgia state criminal law. They don't get a pardon for it at the federal level. They'll just try their case across the street at the federal courthouse instead of the state courthouse. And there'll be another judge, Judge Jones, who'll have to make a decision. But all the judges, I assure you, all the judiciary, including Eileen Cannon down in Florida, is looking carefully at what happened up in Georgia as a template for how to protect their jurors and their grand jurors. I am sure there are meetings going on in the federal courthouses around America to talk about grand jurors in cases related to Donald Trump and jurors related to them. We'll report on it just like I'm doing here on Hot Takes, just like this one at the intersection of law and politics. Only one place, the MeidasTouch Network YouTube channel. It's a free subscribe. And then we pull it all together. If you like these hot takes, we'll do it in a longer format. We pull 5 or 6 of these stories at the intersection of law and politics that we think you need to know with our analysis as practicing attorneys. For if you add up all the co-anchors, we're talking about 75 years of experience in courthouses and courtrooms just like this one. It's called Legal AF, and it's on the YouTube channel for MeidasTouch on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You can watch us there or get us on audio podcast platforms. Every one of them has Legal AF. You can follow me, Michael Popok, on all things social media at MS Popok. This is Michael Popok. Until the next hot take for Legal AF.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.